The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Cowboys StoryLine. It's Tuesday, February the 27th. Getting close to the end of this month. Of course, we have a couple extra days this year with leap year coming up on Thursday. I always hated leap year as a kid because my birthday's early March, and so it's just one more day before the birthday. But it would really be terrible to have your birthday on leap year, I would think. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's cool. Maybe you tell people you're a fourth of your age every time. Who knows? All right, but that's not today. That's Thursday. We'll talk about that on Thursday on February 29th. But today, February 27th, we've got plenty to talk about with the Cowboys. Of course, the Combine's going on in Indianapolis, which means people up there talk. Stephen Jones is there talking today. I think Jerry Jones will be talking on Thursday or Friday, maybe Friday this week. So with free agency coming up, lots going on, lots to talk about. I don't know how many answers actually came out of that. I saw some of the storylines there and some of the quotes from Stephen Jones. I mean, nothing too earth-shattering, just about the free agents and the guys that are, the decisions they have to make coming up with some of these free agents. But I think it all starts really with Dak. I mean, that's the big contract that will kind of determine what they do, and everything always starts with quarterbacks, and so this one no different. But some different things that he said about wanting Tyron Smith back, and then obviously they like Tony Pollard, but I think the market's going to tell what happens there. A lot of running backs, obviously, are there, and I'm sure there'll be some questions or two about that today. Sorry, 888-855-2297 is the number to call. You can text as well, 817-290-3298. So we already have one caller on the line. The lines are open, or at least one of them is, so you can definitely call and get a chance to talk. Last week we got 3 or 4 new callers there, so always good to hear from new voices, but also the ones that call a lot. And here's one of them, Dylan in Northport, Florida. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little tougher, but I'm glad I was able to get in here today.
All right. What do you got?
Something that you and Rob had talked about a couple times now is the Micah Parsons drop-off late in the season.
Uh-huh.
And I was curious about that because I'm like, does this guy really, the calendar changes to, December, he just falls off the face of the planet? We all know he was getting pressures, but his sacks just, disappeared completely. And so I went and I did a little bit of research at specifically the time to throw, because something stuck out to me in the Seattle game. The kind of story on Geno is that the dude held onto the ball for way too long. So I thought that was going to be Sack City in that game. But they went and made a concerted effort to get the ball out quick, kind of negate his presence there on the field as far as sacks go. And so I went and looked at the games following that one, and the quarterbacks were getting the ball out 10 to 20% faster every single game. And that's where we saw the Micah drop-off was after that game. He only had a couple, 2.5 sacks from that point on the rest of the season. That was only week 13. So that tells me that maybe they saw something that other teams were able to pick on as well, with our cornerbacks losing off the line of scrimmage, teams getting open quick, and then obviously we know they try to run the ball as well against us. But I don't think it's necessarily, and I do think there is something to Micah needing to gain weight if he's going to play DN, full-time. Obviously he's too light to be there full-time, but I don't know if the drop-off is as severe as we think maybe it is based on him alone. I think it has something to do with the rest of the defense as well, and specifically the cornerbacks losing off the line. And I don't know if that's a scheme thing or the DBs just losing off the line or what, but I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is. I mean, because you want to I wish I had my stats in front of me. The pressures, that's something to look at, too. Do the pressures change? I mean, obviously, sacks
They don't.
is one. I don't feel like they do. I mean, I feel like the pressures are still there. So I think it's a combination of everything. I really do. I think you're right. It's good that you did the research, and you're right. I mean, teams aren't going to continue to just do the same thing. I mean, you're going to double team. I saw a game the other day when my team was playing basketball. We gave up 40 points to a guy. Arkansas did against Texas A&M. The next game, he got 6. I mean, they do things different. So you're not just going to continue to do the same thing. So I think it's a combination of let's address this issue with Micah. If you're having to block him, we're going to try this on him. We're going to do this. So there's a lot of things. But I don't think it's also 3 years now. I think his body type is probably, he does get tired. He has to be tired and worn down because it's not natural to be playing at that weight. So I think it's a little bit of everything. But if the pressures aren't really going down, then I think it's probably more to it than just what than what people are thinking is that he's tired, he's worn down.
Yeah, and his pressures didn't go down. You're talking he had just as many pressures in the last 6 games here as the rest of the season in the other games. You look at his double team win rate as well. He has the highest percentage of double teams in the league, and he wins the highest percentage of double teams in the league. So, he's still winning. He's still getting the pressures, but that 0.2 second differential, it seems like such a small number. But when you're talking time to throw, and he's getting pressures, not the sacks, well, that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah, well, all right. Appreciate that. That's good stuff, good research. As we found out last week, 0.4 seconds, you can do a lot of things. Like you can throw a long pass and catch it and shoot it. I'm still not over that. But anyways, 0.2. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. I mean, for a quarterback, everything speeds up quickly. So I think it's good. That's good to know that. I mean, I think that the pressures are still there. I think teams are trying to make a conscious effort to block him differently, throw the ball quicker, but I'm not going to just dismiss the fact that he's probably, not the same. It probably wears down a little bit because there's just not many people at his weight that are playing that position and doing it all the time. So, all right, let's go to Shelby in Virginia as the next caller. Shelby, what's up?
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I wanted to call back. I tried to call a bunch the Monday after the dark Sunday in January, but I couldn't get through. I think the show waited a few days, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for stopping by and saying hello to my dad and I at the Washington game. That was just a huge. There's been a lot of talk of journey over destination, and that was just something I'll never forget, and my dad and I'll never forget.
Well, let's be honest about the situation. It started with you guys. I mean, the generosity to give tickets to somebody and do it through this show which was really fun, and I appreciate that. I know Chris does as well, and then also to have such good seats where you could just walk down to where we were. I mean, it's not like you were way up high. I mean, you guys had really good seats right by the tunnel. It was really good. So it started with you guys. I mean, that was just an amazing gesture, and then it was cool that we were able to kind of do that and connect some more fans from StoryLine. That was really neat. So it was great. It was just as much fun for us to meet you guys as it was maybe the other way around. I really appreciate it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it was fun. To texted with Mark a bit, Mark from Philly during the playoff game, just commiserating but so thankful that we got to do that. That was awesome.
I don't want to play. I don't want to play trivia with him. I mean, like I thought I had a stumper, and he was just like,
dude, that was something else.
Yeah. So.
I had no idea. My dad had no idea too. He wouldn't have gotten it. So
that's good.
But yeah, for I don't know, going through the season, I probably listened to this show more than I watched the Cowboys play. Just 5 hours a week of content. So very thankful for all that y'all do.
Thank you.
And keeping it going after a tough loss like that. My only question is, I saw Xavier Howard got released, and I've listened to a few shows now. I took a break, but I'm back. Xavier Howard was released. Would it be worth looking at him and maybe letting go of Gilmore and trying to get, he's a little younger, more expensive, but a better long-term option? Have you given that any thought? And with that, I'll let you go.
Right.
Thanks.
That's good. That's a good question. I mean, Gilmore is going to be an interesting, situation because he played well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he played well. They traded a 5th-round pick. They got him, and he did a nice job. He got hurt, and I think his value was seen at the end there. You know, when he got hurt, he wasn't the same player, and I think Green Bay definitely took advantage of that. But you know, he had surgery on his shoulder, and so it's going to be a little bit before he comes back. I think that's going to affect his market. I would think it affects the market. So we'll see what happens with him. You know, he's also tied closely to Brandon Cooks. I mean, those two, other than them being on the field, you don't see them apart that much. I mean, Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore. I mean, I think you know, Gilmore would like to be here. I assume Cooks would be. He's got another year under his on his contract. So, but to what you're asking, can you get better there? Can you get better than Gilmore at that spot? You know, Diggs is coming back. So what's the role? This team needs a lot, and I don't know if signing a corner, a veteran corner who's just been released and for contract reasons, I don't know if that's your best play. I mean, think about it now. When free agency hits, you've got starters that are not going to be there. I mean, your free agents. You have a left tackle who's a free agent. You have a running back, 2 running backs, free agent, center, free agent. And so when free agency starts, you could lose some of these guys to other teams. At corner, you've got Gilmore and Jordan Lewis, but you've got Diggs and you've got Deron Bland, and then you got some other younger guys as well. I just don't know if it's as pressing. I like where you're thinking, though. Upgrade from that position, but for the money, I don't know. I think you could maybe get Gilmore on a good deal. Bring him back. You have to rehab him, but I think he's a veteran that would be just fine to start whenever he's ready. So that's an interesting position. You've got guys, but you also one of your guys is coming back from injury. You have question marks there. I don't know if they make that big a splash, but you know, something along those lines sounds good to me. All right, I got a text question here from the 214 number, so right here in the Dallas area. Says, do you expect the players to be all in this year? Do they have to set the market, or are they willing to share the pie? You know, sure this is a reference to the salary cap that went up quite considerably. I believe almost, was it $30 million? So I don't necessarily think that helps the Cowboys. I think it might help a little bit to get some guys under contract or whatever. But in terms of market, though, you still have teams that have a lot more money than you. And what happens is when teams have a lot of money, then it gets even bigger. That's where the contracts will get bigger. It'll be out of control a little bit. So I don't know if it helps the Cowboys that much. I think you're going to see a lot of big deals, big contracts this year. And Chris actually sent this for me. All right, so it did increase $30.6 million to $255.4 million. It helps teams kind of function a little bit, but it doesn't help them compete with a lot of teams that are, now you can really throw some money around. And so I don't think the players are going to be all in from that standpoint. If you're asking, is Dak and CD and Micah willing to be all in and kind of take a little bit less to share? No, that doesn't happen. Not with the second contract for Micah and CD, and nor should it. And Dak, this is his third contract, but he's still in the prime of his career where he can get the biggest contract that he's ever had too. So those three guys, no, it's setting the market for them is way more important than it is to sharing the pie. You just don't see that very often. Tom Brady, I think, did it. You don't see a lot of other people that really do that. All right, let's go to Brian in Kansas City.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I did not catch the very beginning of the show. So how's your dad doing?
He's doing good. I didn't mention that, but he's doing pretty good. Probably listening right now. So no, he's doing fine. Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I was going to say it by his nickname, but I couldn't remember what his nickname. What did he call himself?
Oh, he goes by. It's his stage name, really. Dr. Sunshine. So
Dr. Sunshine, because he's from Florida, right?
No, it's just because he's always smiling. He's not from Florida. Florida.
I thought he was in Florida when he called.
No, he's from Fort Worth.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fort Worth needs some sunshine, too. So,
Absolutely.
all right, Brian,
Absolutely.
what do you got?
Well, so I wanted to ask a couple of, also kind of in conjunction with the cap going up, a couple of questions about different roster scenarios, and then of course I got an old time Cowboy for you.
All right.
So one, I guess my first question is, there was a little bit of a debate before this happened, before it went up way more than expected. There was a little bit of a debate as, because McCarthy's on a one-year deal, would they think about keeping Dak to just this year and saying, let's just play it out, see how you do. And I didn't think it was realistic before. Now, maybe from a financial point, I was like, he's an awful good quarterback. We remember the Quincy Carter, we remember eras without a starting quarterback and kind of cringe. So, but I just didn't think it was financially possible. They just didn't think they could do it. Now they could. So I'm curious. And the other person is, do you think they'll move on from Gallup? And I kind of want to know, what would you do? And then what do you think the Cowboys are going to do? And then my old-time Cowboy is Montre Holland. So he played just a couple of years as a backup until 2010. He had a little bit of a run as a starter that year. And anyway, just anything you had on him, man, and I'll hang up and listen. Have a great day.
Thanks for the call, Brian. Chris knows why I'm laughing. Yeah, Montre Holland, man, he's one of my favorites. I can't even say it with a straight face. Yeah, we got a song about him that we would sing. But I mean, he's a good dude. I mean, he was a really good guy. I think I told this story one time on the show that I accidentally sent a text message to him. I had a picture of my daughter at a Disney event, and she had all kinds of Disney stuff on, Frozen, all this stuff, and I sent a picture. I was supposed to send it to my mom, but it got sent to Montre Holland. I don't know if he never responded to it. I don't know if he liked it or not. Just thought that was weird. I mean, very opposite, I think, of my mom. But yeah, good guy. He knows how to party for sure, and I don't know that firsthand. That's just part of the song.
Because he's got an ass.
I'm gonna leave it at that. That's not even the guy. That's not even the right guy. I don't know, Chris, why you're throwing that in there. I don't think I was talking about
trying,
him.
bro.
I know, but yeah. Basically, what I'll say is there was a sports writer one time. We were sitting. I'm not gonna tell the whole song, but we were sitting there at training camp, and it was the song by Tupac, California Knows How to Party, and somebody next to me changed the lyrics to Montre Holland because he just got named the starter. So Montre Holland is now the starter, and he keeps on blocking. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup, what will I do? What would I do? This one's tough. You know how I am about Michael Gallup. I don't have a problem with him being there. I think he makes plays when it's time. He doesn't make enough though to warrant the contract. So if you're going to make a move, you've got to make him a post June 1 cut. You don't have to cut him on June 1, but you don't get the money that you save until then. But it splits up the contract a little bit. So basically with that, I think that Gallup. I think you save about $6 million if you make him a post June 1 cut, and that probably makes more sense because if you don't, you're gonna save like $100 or something. I mean, it's like very, very even. And for him to be the fourth receiver, but doesn't play special teams. If they feel like Tolbert's gonna just take on to that, that's fine. I kind of like that better because I don't think I want Tolbert on special teams. I mean, let's be honest. He's a receiver because when he was out there, they throw two fakes at him. And I mean, that's not really his thing. So he could focus on just being a receiver. Probably makes more sense. That's what I think I would do. I have to make him a post June 1 cut if they decide to do that. But he's going to be good for somebody. I mean, maybe not at that price, but he runs good routes. He makes some catches. I'm talking about Gallup. Makes some contested catches. He makes sideline plays. Doesn't cause any issues in the locker room. He just kind of does his thing. And he'd be a good third or fourth receiver for somebody. Probably just not here. All right, let's go to actually the lines are open right now. Both lines open. So Let's make this happen. But the first question that Brian was talking about was Dak. And I still think they're going to do enough, to make a move with his contract to save some money on this cap. I don't think that they'll be in for 3 to 4 more years, but I think they're gonna figure out a way to keep him for the next couple of years for sure, and also at a price that they're gonna be competitive. I mean, they got the head coach here has 1 year left on his deal. I mean, he's going to be competitive. This isn't going to be one where let's just wait it out and then have more money after. They're going to try to win. So Jerry said they're going to go all in. I don't know what all in means to Jerry, but I do think that they're going to try to make a play. We'll see if they act differently in free agency this year. All right, let's go to actually before we get to the next call, I do want to read this text message. This is from Mike in Boston. As a media member, does it ever frustrate the hell out of you when a person like Jimmy Johnson makes the joke about being on Jerry Jones' advisory board? He was literally laughing as he said it, and it was led to the news of most of the national media. And, of course, they were bad-mouthing Jerry, saying that he's so desperate he needs Jimmy Johnson's advice after all these years. Just does it drive you nuts that stories are covered accurately? Probably inaccurately is what he's saying. That's part of the game. I mean, that's what happens. You got to remember everyone's got an agenda. Jimmy, I don't know if Jimmy said, I think it was more tongue in cheek a little bit. I don't know if he said anything about, I didn't hear the part about advisory board. I just think he said he's in the fold and with them and they're good and they discuss things and all that. And I think all that's fine. And let's be honest about it. I mean, Jimmy was the head coach of the team, and Jerry was the owner and general manager, and they won 2 Super Bowls, and they couldn't figure it out. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to be – that was when he was the actual head coach. So, I don't, maybe Jerry should have been leaning on Jimmy a little bit more or Jimmy on Jerry. Either way, I mean, I don't even know how all that went down. My point is that I don't think this is one where – he's on speed dial and he's asking Jimmy for advice. I don't think that's the case. I just think they're in good situation, better than they've ever been, evident by him being in the Ring of Honor. Does it bother me when all these other stuff? That's part of it. I mean, things get spun all the time for headlines. I mean, how many times have you clicked on a story where it says something, Cowboys signed this running back, and you're clicking on it and you're like, who are they getting? And it's some, third-year guy, whatever, to an exclusive rights deal. I mean, that's part of it. It's part of the deal, and it happens all the time. This one doesn't really bother me. All right, let's go to Jeff in North Carolina.
What's going on, Nick?
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Great.
I listened to you yesterday on Talking Cowboys, and I know y'all was asking what do you think would be a risky thing that they would do if they's all. And I thought that if instead of extending Dak and they restructure him and push more, convert his salary into signing bonus and push it into next year, I think that could be risky because I've heard Brian Broaddus say, if Dak becomes a free agent next year, whether it be from restructure or they just let his contract stay where it is, he thinks Dak will be gone. He thinks, that Dak will leave, and that could be, I thought, well, that could be risky,
True.
But I was going to see what you thought about that, and also I was going to see if you had a story on the late great Golden Richards. I seen where he died over the weekend, and I will hang up and let you talk about that, man. It's good talking to you.
Good talking to you, Jeff. Good stuff as always. It's anything you do when you're talking about 59, 60 million, 70 million, whatever. I mean, even if they cut it to a measly 40 million, whatever it is, it's risky. I mean, it's risky at any spot here. So, I still think, for every Brock Purdy that's a success story, Think about how many 7th-round picks the Cowboys have drafted or any team has drafted that you would want to play for you, or any undrafted free agent or whatever. You know, I mean, Brock Purdy, Tony Romo. Even Tony Romo, it took 3 or 4 years. You know, so it's risky if you don't go that route. I mean, you can say that. Just say, I'm going to go with a cheap quarterback and we'll win. And it doesn't really work. It doesn't work that way, you know. And the 49ers had a loaded roster around him, and I'm not saying he's not worthy. He's a really good quarterback. I mean, he's really good. Brock Purdy, I think he's outstanding. My point is that there's risk anywhere you go. If you say, I'm not paying Dak $59 million, we're going to go get someone cheaper. Good luck. We've seen that. We've seen that happen. You know, we've seen the Cowboys move on from Troy Aikman. We saw that. Good luck. So there's risk anywhere you slice it. Golden Richards, yes, he did pass away this weekend. You know, he obviously played before I was, really before I was born. I mean, maybe when I was 1 or 2, he was playing, but I think 78 was his last year. You know, I honestly was surprised at one time when I looked at his stats and realized that they weren't like that great. I thought he was like superstar. I really did, because he made big plays. He's one of those guys that had some clutch catches, touchdowns. Of course, he caught one in the Super Bowl. So I kind of always thought growing up that he was one of the legend type guys. But he was, he was more of a role player. But he had some great plays, and I mean, his he had the name and his hair and all that. The thing for me that I knew more about him is because in 1983 they had another receiver, number 83, named Doug Donnelly, who also had long blonde hair, and he was a receiver, and it was flowing out the back of his helmet and all that. Just like he was like the next Golden Richards. Well, it turned out he wasn't. It wasn't that great. He didn't play for that long. But that's kind of what I knew of Golden Richards, was more about what I had heard and saw from Doug Donnelly. But still, just another sad loss for the Cowboys nation and for a great player like Golden Richards. All right, let's move to Daniel. He's in Greensboro, North Carolina. Daniel,
yes.
You with us? What's up, man?
Yes. Hey, I just have a comment, and I want you, I kind of want to get your thoughts on it.
Sure.
But I'm a huge Dak fan, huge Cowboys fan, and I do believe that we should do what we have to do to extend him. Hopefully, he takes maybe a little haircut or whatever, but get him extended so that we can lower the cap number. But I think the biggest elephant in the room that the Cowboys need to get back to is the offensive line. That is the one position group that can affect the entire team. There are no other top-tier quarterbacks that are asked to do more, to me, than Dak when it comes to having to deal with a team that's the most penalized, that can't stop the run, that can't run the ball whenever it's needed. He has to deal with that whenever Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to deal with that, whenever Jackson doesn't have to deal with that, whenever these top-line quarterbacks never has to deal with all these things happening at once in the playoffs over and over. Now, he has to play better, of course, but fixing our offensive line at center, and I believe at left tackle. I know Tyron Smith is going to be cheap, but I need somebody that can maul people, that can get downhill, and that can run the football. That helps our running game. That helps our
hold on. Tyron Smith going to be cheap?
Cheaper than other starting left tackles.
Yeah, okay. Other than starting left tackles, right. Other than
right, yes,
but
yes.
Now, not cheap, but yeah. I mean, you're right. He probably will get a discount considering that he was a second team All-Pro, but I don't think it'll be that cheap.
Right. But at the same time, we all know that we had a lot of All-Pros this year based on the numbers, but to me, some of that had something to do with the star on our helmet as well. Because, for instance, yes, Deron Bland, for instance, was All-Pro, but he also gave up a lot as well, and so he had an up and down year as well. But that's not the point of my call. My call is I think we should double dip if we have to in the draft at offensive line, fits the middle of our defense, but help our quarterback out. He can't carry all the nonsense that happens with all the penalties and can't stop the run. And to me, no other quarterback has to deal with all of that mess on top of, and I love Jerry Jones, but on top of all the stuff that comes with that, no other quarterback has to deal with that. And if you fix the offensive line, you can help the rest of the team, and you can starting back to getting an identity and creating a culture in the locker room whenever you fix the offensive line. To me, that's the biggest need. And I don't care if we have to double dip or go all in our front seven on both sides of the ball. We have to do something with that.
Daniel, you first-time caller?
First-time caller, but I've been listening to you all the way back to Cowboys break and before. So it's just the first time that I've been able to get through.
All right. There we go. Well, we appreciate it for sure. Thanks for the call. Good stuff. Good insight as well.
Thank you.
I'm agreeing with you, and I disagree at the same time. In on one level, yes, Dak has to put up with a lot, and it's not just on the field stuff. But it's part of it when you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. There's penalty issues, lack of running game, defense had some holes at times as well. But like you said, Dak has to play better. I don't know. What I disagree with is I don't know if other quarterbacks don't have to deal with that either. I mean, Patrick Mahomes to me is just on another level. He's not even worth talking about in terms of comparing anything. He would like Dak's receivers over his. I think he would trade everything. If you said I'll trade everything, you get the Chiefs receivers and their tight end, and the Cowboys receivers and their tight end. That's a tough one now, with Kelsey involved. Now the Chiefs PR would take Kelsey because I think he's driving a lot more ratings for some reason. But I think that from receiver, tight end, Dak's got it pretty good. So I don't know if I would agree with that other quarterbacks don't have to deal with stuff. They all have to deal with stuff. But for the most part, I agree with your premise. Get better guys around him and clean up some of the mess. Clean up some of the penalties. Clean up some of that. Give him a running game. That's really what it comes down to. Give him a running game, which, like you said, starts with the offensive line, and I'm fine with that too. I'd be okay if they drafted offensive line once again. If they drafted a lineman in the first or second round for 3 or 4 or 5 years in a row, that would be fine with me. Because then you continue to have really good players up front, and if you have good players up front and you get the pressure off your quarterback, then you can do some good things. So I'm totally fine with that. All right, we got Rob in Vegas.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Rob.
The last caller, that's kind of one of the reasons why I don't want to pay Dak $60 million a year, because you just rattled off. He needs this. He needs this,
help.
He needs this.
Yeah. I thought about that when I was saying that too. I was just like, that's the double-edged sword here on this.
Yeah, we talked about it's a bad investment. There's only one right now, and that's Mahomes. Everybody else is getting overpaid and not producing.
True.
And it's just the way it is. But I keep hearing people talk about, well, if we don't do anything with Dak this year, and he goes out and he wins the Super Bowl, he may leave. Are you kidding me? This guy has been putting up with the media for his whole career, and now you're telling me when he does something that hasn't been done in 29 years or so, he's not going to stay and let everybody kiss his butt? And I mean, of course he's going to enjoy it all. He would never leave. Even if he gets to the NFC Championship game and, God forbid, we lose, he would have done something that hasn't been done. So that's not going anywhere other than if he doesn't produce.
If Dak wins the Super Bowl, Jerry Jones is going to give him 3 things. Number 1, a hug. Number 2, a check. And number 3, a pin. Okay?
Yeah.
And he can fill out that. If he wins a Super Bowl, he
can run for mayor.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's why, I don't know why anybody would say that. Oh, wait, he would leave. There would be no way in the world.
Yeah.
But the only listen, I know that you said the cap went up $30 million. That's got to help somehow.
It does help. It helps you do some things, but I just don't think it makes you now competitive to go outbid people because everyone gets $30 million and they're in a better situation than you are.
Correct. And let's be honest, Jerry Jones is not going to do that. He's going to spin it. We got Diggs and Overshown coming back. So, and they pretty much, Overshown didn't play at all. Diggs played a couple games. So that's going to help. And he's right. If those guys come back and they are right, that means they're going to help. So he's going to spin it like that. They'll go get a linebacker like maybe a Bobby Wagner or somebody, but they're not going to spend $20 million a year on a guy. And they'll get somebody in the middle of the defensive line. No, they're probably not going to get Chris Jones, but go get somebody, and that's how he'll spin it. And if he's going to do it like that, I'm okay with that as long as he leaves Dak alone. Leave the contract.
Right.
Let's ride it out. Ride it out. And let's see what happens. Michael Gallup, I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. He's going to be gone. And I like him. He seems like a cool dude. But like you said, he's just not – he doesn't justify the money.
Like when they drafted another third-rounder in Jalen Tolbert from a relatively small school like they did with Gallup. No offense to Colorado State. It's not Power 5, but it's not small school. But still, they drafted a third-round receiver. It's kind of, Tolbert kind of taking over as the next Gallup.
Yeah, they're kind of the same player.
Yeah.
They're kind of the same player right now. Maybe Tolbert is even more on an upswing, which is nice. I mean, I just don't see them. They're not – for any fans, I think they're going to go out and just, go pay Saquon Barkley $12 million. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. They'll go maybe $4 or $5 million for a running back, or they'll draft one, which I'm okay with because running backs, I hate to say it, they used to be the dominant position. Emmitt Smith was my favorite player, but they're not anymore. You get them out of, you're going to run them for 5 years and then you're going to move on. So, but no, Dak ain't going nowhere. I hope he wins the Super Bowl, and I hope they make him mayor, president. I don't care. Let him, but no, he's not leaving if he's successful.
All right. Thanks for the call, Rob. As always, appreciate that. Chris had a good question. If he was the mayor, I mean, in Frisco, Arlington, Dallas, anywhere, he might just want to be the governor. Who knows? Sorry, I'm not trying to get political again. He can do whatever he wants if he wins the Super Bowl, and I think everyone would be fine with that. I do disagree with one thing, though, that you said, Bruce. Bruce is next, but to Rob, I disagree a little bit. I think the Cowboys might actually get one of those running backs. I could see that happening. There's 4 or 5 out there, really about 3. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys go and do a move like that. I'm not saying that's their all-in move, but I think it's a move that would be a little different than what we've seen before. A little risky because, running backs are, they're always risky at this point. Dalvin Cook was one of the best in the league like 2 years ago, and then he didn't have a team. He's kind of bouncing around a little bit. So the drop-off can be quick, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys spent considerable money for one of those backs. Remember, last year, they did the franchise tag for Pollard, so they were at 10. If it's up there in the 11 to 12 range and for somebody you think's better, I could see them doing that. So that's one thing I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys made a move like that. All right, let's go to Bruce in Houston.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Bruce.
How you doing, buddy?
It's been a minute.
Hey, I didn't listen to Rob. I got you in my ear, so I need to listen to your response. Hopefully you won't disagree with me, but
he said that he didn't think they would go get a Barkley or a Josh Jacobs or Derrick Henry and spend $12 million or something like that. He doesn't think the Jerry's going to do that. In this case, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. They actually might. That might be the type of move that they think could kind of help them. It wouldn't surprise me if that happened.
Well, let me ask you before I do my Dak deal, how close do you think they were making a trade for Tennessee for Henry?
Not really.
Or were they even in the one? Really?
No, actually, I was told that they never called. Tennessee never called, and the Cowboys never called, and it never even came up. And I think the Titans, remember now, nobody traded for him. And everyone thought it was going to happen. I think the Titans threw out compensation figures and draft picks and stuff so high that everybody has its price. So it's like, they might trade Derrick Henry, and I'm sure they were like, for 3 number ones and or whatever. And they're like, whoa. So I think Tennessee squashed all of that.
Right. And it makes sense. And you can't blame them, ask for the moon.
Right.
And see what happens. But, nobody's going to give that to a 30-plus-year-old running back.
Remember this. They loved their coach, Vrabel. They did part ways with him, but they wanted him to be successful. They wanted it to work. He's a likable guy. He's fiery. He's tough. He's kind of got that Dan Campbell type. He was a player. Mm-hmm. They wanted him to have success. So if you really want it to work out, you're not going to trade your best player, and then you're not going to win games, and then you're going to fire him, and then somebody else gets to win all that. I didn't seem to make a lot of sense, even though media was throwing it out there that he was all but gone, but it didn't really work out like that.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I think, all chips in, as we've been saying. Look, what do you think the betting odds that McCarthy is extended after this year? 50% or even lower? I don't know. I'm just asking. But
what are the odds that they win the Super Bowl or go to the NFC Championship game?
But if that happens, and that's, I think if Dallas would have, this year was the perfect scenario, being the number 2 seed, and they, poo-pooed their way in there. But if they'd at least gotten to the championship game and say they lost, I guess it depends on how they lost. He threw 3 picks for 2 for pick sixes. Yeah, you'd still be mad at Dak. But if at least they got there, I'd have been okay extending McCarthy, and you still may be in the same boat with the new defensive coordinator, which I think they've gotten better. Mm-hmm. Quinn was more about getting to the QB instead of stopping the running back. I think we're going to see right the opposite with Zimmer there. Right. Stop the run, and then you can still get to the quarterback. But that'll be, depending on what we see. But with Dak, I've been watching him since he came from Mississippi, State. So, and great fan of his, but you just can't. He's not worth $40 million. I'm sorry. And Dallas seems to do that a lot. Pay good players what great players get paid, and instead of vice versa.
Hold on real quick, Bruce. Let me ask you this. Yeah. Let's do it in a different way. Is he among the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, in your opinion? Top 10?
Yeah, I would say top 10.
Okay.
Not top 5.
Not top 5. That's top fine. 10. Top 10. Okay. So that being said, then I wouldn't get caught up in he's not worth this or not worth that. I mean, you and me, like we can say that about anybody, right? So, but my point is that don't ask, is he worth this much? Say, is he worth to be fairly compensated? Should he be, and I think he is. And it's just a cycle. He was number 2 highest paid quarterback for about a week. And then before you know it, he's 15th. Or, like these quarterbacks,
no, I know that.
They just keep doing that. So it's his turn.
Nick,
yeah.
But here's another question. Someone said some stats the other day. He's still up there on the most paid quarterback, even more than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
You know how many times he got franchised? My question is, look, I don't care if they make $100 million. It ain't my money. It's Gary's money. But my point is you just can't. You can't invest even more long-term with what this team needs defensively to a guy that plays great in the regular season and only against mediocre teams, because those are all the teams that were good that made the playoffs last year. We didn't win one of them except for maybe Philadelphia, maybe the Rams. You could include them in there, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the
I get it. I get it. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because and Bruce, thanks for the call. Do you have anything else?
No, just have a good day.
You too.
I like Dak. I
know
want it to work. I really do, but at some point you got to either.
No, I know.
I would hopefully if they go all in, if they can adjust his contract to where, because if they blow it again this year, well then Jerry's gonna. I don't care if he's 92, he's gonna have to blow it up and start over with a new coach.
Yeah.
And he's gonna want a new quarterback, and you can't blame him for that. So good show, Nick.
All right, thanks, Bruce. I mean, like, there's so many fans that probably have that same mentality right there as in Bruce. Same thing. Or like you really like Dak and you respect him and you want him to do well. You just wanted him to play better, especially at those times in the playoffs. But he said something interesting of, with all the help we need on defense, how do you do this? And that's kind of the point. That's why they will do something with it, because they do need all this help. And the best way to get more help is to work with him and his contract, and not only him, but CD and Micah. If they can get all three of these guys done, they actually can save a lot more money. It sounds like there's not going to be any pie left for anyone else, but in reality, there will be even more because of the way they structure these deals, and they can do some things right now. Now with Micah, I think definitely with CD, Micah, I'm still not to the point where I'd be fine with him long term. I think he's a great player. I know that people have some concerns there, but I think these are the type of guys that you can still win with, and you're going to win with for a long time. Dak's a little bit different, but I still think all three of them can help you be more competitive and be in that all-in stage by getting deals done with them. All right, let's go to Arthur. Is he still on the line? Arthur in Spring, Texas?
Yes, sir. I am here. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I grew up playing football. I mean, I played it at the high school level.
What position?
Didn't go. Played just about every position on the defense. Started off at offensive guard and then went to nose guard and ended up at
corner.
Linebacker.
Okay.
No.
I was going to say. All right. What do you think? What do you think, Arthur?
Okay. At first, I was kind of wondering about Dak and this whole contract situation. I really think that Dak wants to be here for the remainder of his career. Now, that being said, that compromises are going to have to be made, not only on the Cowboys' part, but definitely on Dak's part. I used to think that I really understood football. But after watching the podcast and listening to different shows, I realized that, man, the whole game has jumped light years away from me. And there's aspects about contracts I don't understand. I don't even understand contracts and free agency at all. But to keep from getting thrown off in another direction, I sent you a text the other day, and I asked, if Dak leaves, what team do you think he could go to and have an immediate impact on that team where he's playing good enough to get them to the Super Bowl? And I kind of answered my own question after I sent it. And I don't think there's any other team out there, because all of the teams who had good quarterbacks they advanced in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I kind of answered my own question with that. But everybody's already addressed our needs. We know we need a linebacker. We know we need to shore up the offensive line. We know we have to do something about the D-line as far as controlling the run. I just don't know or see a way that they can get a few quality players to plug into these positions. Tony Pollard, I don't think when there was talk about picking up Barkley, I can't see where Barkley makes a difference in comparison to Tony Pollard. I really feel as though that Tony Pollard got put in a no-win situation last year. I don't know
about that one, Arthur. I see a different player. I see a different player. I see a different player. I do. I see a different player. I see a different body type. I see a little bit more of a three-down running back. I know he's been banged up. He didn't play 17 games like Tony Pollard did. I think you got to give credit to Tony Pollard for his body size to play that many games and to be as durable as he's been. I do give Tony credit from there, but I see a different back, honestly. Yeah. So
Well, that's really all that I had.
Okay.
I didn't really have a question per se. It was just the old man kind of rambling.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call, Arthur. And I'll speak to something that you said. I know you're not on the line, but I'll say this to you. Don't sell yourself short on not knowing the game like you used to or whatever. Football, yes, it evolves, but it also evolves in a cycle. There's going to be a time where you'll see a lot more running. We're kind of seeing a little bit of it now. Teams, you still need to run the football. Okay, it hasn't changed for when you played. It really, if you got the biggest guys up front and you can push people around, you can still win football games. It's the same when you played in high school. It's the same now. Those 6A teams in high school can beat any 2A, 3A team probably there is because they just got bigger guys. It hasn't changed that much. Yes, it's evolved, and it's going to continue. It'll be a cycle thing, like I said. But, you understood the game when you played it. You still understand it now. It's changed a little bit. Not knowing the money and the salary cap. I've been covering this team for 26 years. I barely have a decent grasp about the salary cap. I understand how it works, and it's really no different. It's you give everyone the same amount of money. Now you give everyone the same. It's just like painting a picture. Everyone has a canvas. Everyone has the same brush, and everyone has the same paints. But it's still going to look different for how they do it and how. So you're giving everyone the same type of materials. It's just how do they? What do they do with it when it's here? And so some teams are a lot more creative than the others. And I think the Cowboys have done a really good job with their salary cap. But they also have great players. When you have 9 Pro Bowlers, 10 Pro Bowlers, or whatever they ended up having, you have to pay those guys. So it's not easy. It means you have to draft well, and they've done a pretty good job of that too. All right, Erwin in Denver.
Hey, Nick, what's going on?
Hey, Erwin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. A little snowy up here today, but so what? Anyway, I just wanted to make a couple of comments, and if people can kind of think back about the Cowboys, the history of the Cowboys. What was a couple of things that was always really good about the Cowboys was their running game, their offensive line and their defensive line. And I'm just kind of really hoping that the Cowboys somehow, some way are able to draft that center from Oregon, Jackson Power Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly, get a running back. I think the running back from Oregon himself. And then just to touch quickly on free agency of running back, I like the guy from Oakland, Josh Jacobs, and I agree with you. I think the Cowboys are probably going to go somewhere and get one of those running backs.
Yeah, I just think they will this year.
Yeah, and
it's a Jerry. Think about it. It's a Jerry type of move. It really is. It's a getting well-known players. And maybe a little bit after, they've done what they're going to do. But, the running back market is going down, but yet they still got some high-profile names. It's just the type of move that I think the Cowboys would do this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just to quickly touch bases real quick about Prescott, I think he's a really good quarterback. I just wish that during the playoffs he would have one of those playoff games like he did a couple years ago against the Buccaneers. But you know what? As far as his contract goes, I guess he deserves it because that's what it dictates. The price on the players. So the market dictates that. So anyway, I'll hit up and see what you got to say about that. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Erwin. All right. You mentioned that Tampa Bay playoff game. I think that game actually holds a little bit more water than you would think. Because if anything, it shows that you can do it. It shows you can do it on a big stage. It was a Monday Night Football playoff game, and he's got Tom Brady on the other side, and they went on the road and they went there, and he had one of the greatest games that any quarterback's ever had in a postseason. I don't know if there's been I think it's 4 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown, and 75% completion or something. There's a lot of little stats involved there, but no one's ever done it in the playoffs. So it was one of those type of games. And it was a big game. I'm not going to sit here and be one of those people that says, only the losses were big games. When you win, it's not, it doesn't matter. That was a huge game. And I think it just at least shows the Cowboys that he can do it. He can do it on a big stage, but he needs some help. And he didn't have it in Green Bay, and he didn't play well either. So against Green Bay. So it was a poor effort from everybody. But I think the fact that he has done it 2 years ago, at least sort of should help a little bit from the Cowboys standpoint of knowing, if they are paying him a lot of money, that, their belief that he can still get the job done when it counts. All right, Tony in Atlanta, next caller. Probably last caller.
Hey, what's up, Nick? Good afternoon.
Man, how you doing?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Oh, great.
Good. So this is my fourth time calling.
Oh, fourth.
No music for that.
Yeah,
fourth time. Nothing special for that, but I just keep it count. It's been a while. But at any rate, so a couple things. One comment on this whole all-in piece.
Mm-hmm.
With Clarence E. Hill Jr., that gentleman needs to get royalties every time somebody says all in, because being the professional journalist that he is the one who used the term all in, and Jerry just took it and ran with it, and now it's on fire. So if somebody can get that man a royalty every time all in is said, let's get that started, man.
Do you play poker?
Three card poker, yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's the thing. I like this quick. It's a catchy little term, but let's be honest about it. You go all in, you push your chips to the middle, and it's like, I better get this ace on the river, or I'm going home, and I'm done with my money. I'm done. This is it. I'm all on this hand. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not what this is. This isn't all in. Okay, I mean they're going to have a hand next year. So you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a nice thing to say, but unless they start trading next year's number ones. I said this on Talking Cowboys. You trade next year's number one, and you start getting into next year to all go in for right now. That's my definition of all in. But just getting drafting someone or making a big trade and all that. I mean, I think it's next year's one. That's the type of all-in move. It's not just going to get a running back that we've all had on our fantasy team at some point. I don't think it's that.
I agree. And like you said, I mean, kind of like the Rams did a few years ago when they started talking about forget them picks and all that type stuff. That's kind of closer to all in, but I just don't see us doing things like that. My other thing, right quick, and this is no one's mentioned this, and I don't foresee this happening, but what's the likelihood, with all this talk about extend Dak or, keep him at 59, whatever,
mm-hmm.
What's the likelihood of Dak himself actually, how these guys do sometimes when there are contract discussions going on,
mm-hmm.
maybe not show up at OTAs or maybe not do this or not do that. Because his cap number's 59, his actual take-home pay this year, hadn't changed much. It's about 20, 25 million or something like that. The cap number is just because of what's happened over the last few years, pushing everything back. But I just wonder, just for the sake of trying to get this contract thing moving, if there's any chance he might do something like that, not show up or, I know some things are mandatory, but OTAs, I know that's not. So I just wonder what your thoughts are.
Yeah, that's a good question. It really is a good question. Thanks for the call, Tony.
Yeah, man. Take care, brother.
Take care to you. A lot of guys do that. This is where it gets difficult because Dak is not like a lot of other guys. I would say, never say never, but this ain't happening. Like Dak's not doing that. He's not going to sit out like that. Now he might do something different. He might, not do as many media things or whatever it is. I mean, we've seen certain players do something like that when they're wanting a deal. You don't say yes to everything in the organization that they're asking you. There's little things like that, but not practice. Because at the end of the day, they all seem to come back. It's very, very rare that, like, when you have a holdout, it's really not a holdout until you start losing money and losing significant money, not just some fine money, but like game check type money. And that's not going to happen. So every player understands, I can balk a little bit, but does it help? Does it really help me at the end of the day to get here late and then now everyone's messed up? The whole offense is not on track. We're all out of sync because I was trying to make a stand, but now I'm back and we're trying to play catch up and the season's about to start. That doesn't help anybody. So it doesn't make sense to do that. He might have his opinions about how things are done, but I don't think it will be an OTA and mini camp and those type of things, and even training camp. I don't see that happening. That's not the type of person that he is. It's not the type of leader that he is. I would be very, very surprised if that ever happened. I mean, I think they'll figure something out, and I think he'll be, in good spirits, because I think that they want to be competitive this year, and the best way to do that is to, restructure his contract, get these other two guys with some extensions as well, and then they can get into free agency. Now, that doesn't mean all three guys are going to be done, but I think they'll have a plan in place to be able to do that. So this year, it wouldn't surprise me if you get one of them done, Dak, and maybe another player, and then another one maybe in training camp as well, and really have some money to function all year long as well. All right, great show. It's been an hour. We've had 10 calls, good stuff. Had a first-time caller, had some of our veterans called. So really, really good stuff. I appreciate that. We will be on next, just this Thursday. So on February 29th, we will leap into that show. Should be a lot of fun. For Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We will see you next time on Cowboy Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.